All right, so thank you very much for being here this evening. My name is Rich Hazler. I'm the proud principal here at Pequannock Township High School. I hope I'm a familiar face to many of you as we started our journey together as fifth grade parents, right? And now you are eighth grade parents. And, this is a unique situation. For some of you that signed in early, I said, I hope that you don't get sick of me after having me as a principal for so long. As you go through the next 4 years, but I am super excited to work with your children. I'm starting a unique journey myself, as I know, this is an age group of many of the kids that I've coached, living in town and have watched grow up for a long time. So to see them now come in as ninth graders next year is really going to be something special. And so I really appreciate the fact that they've taken on a leadership position this year in these just crazy times. And tonight we're going to talk about what it's going to mean for you as parents and for your children to chart a course for success at Pequannock Township High School. So I just do want to make some introductions before we get started. I'd like to introduce Mr. Brian Silipina. I see him here on my camera. He's the assistant principal in charge of athletics. He's just going to wave there. He's got the sharp-looking vest on. We have Mrs. Milner, who is my assistant principal. She's got her lights in the background there, always festive. We have Mrs. Prashak, who is our guidance counselor at PV. I know I see her here. We have Mrs. Busher, who is a member of our child study team. We have Mr. Frederick, who is our supervisor of student services in charge of guidance and special ed. We have Mrs. Betsy Crocker, who is one of our guidance counselors at Pequannock Township High School. And then we have some of our familiar faces from PV. We have Mrs. Emily Ringen, Miss Emily Ringen, our assistant principal, and Mr. John Seborowski, my partner in crime and principal over there at PV. So I know Ms. Toth might be popping in here too as well as she joins us from PV. So again, I want you to know that you have a tremendous support system here. And as we go moving forward, know that there is constant communication between the schools. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to share the screen, okay? And throughout the presentation, feel free, if you want to ask a question, you can please put it in the chat. And then I'll have time at the end for a question and answer session, so you can feel free to unmute yourself and we can have a conversation as we go. All right, so away we go. I'm going to share my screen. And let's do this. So I talked to the students today. I met with the first half of the eighth grade today, and I'll be meeting with the second half tomorrow. And I asked them a question on the front screen here, and I said, "Where have you seen these eyes before?" And one of the students on there, they said, "We see them on the front of the high school." I said, "Yeah, that's right. If you drive past the high school, this is on the banner that hangs right below Pequannock Township High School." But I said, "Where else do you see this?" And I think because they haven't been in school in a while, these eyes look at them when they walk through the front doors of PV school, and it says, "Welcome to Panther territory and home of the Golden Panthers." And they also see this in the gym of PV school, right underneath the scoreboard. And I told them, these eyes, they mean something. The pride that's in these eyes, the fact that we're a team and we're a Golden Panther family. We travel together. We look out for each other. We watch out for each other. That's what's happening right now. In these times, we're all looking out for each other. And there's been no doubt that this has been incredibly hard for any student at any age, whether they're elementary, middle, or high school. But the same is true for a parent, okay? And right now, parenting is hard. And as a seventh grade parent myself, many of you know I have a child at PV and I have a fifth grader. It's hard. And being in education as a principal, and seeing it firsthand, and then going home and being a parent, it's hard to split those roles. And sometimes my son will say, "Dad, stop talking to me like a principal," but I also see what he's doing and how he's learning and some of the things that are happening. And my heart hurts for him sometimes that he's not in school. And I know it's hard as a parent when you're watching your kid at home. I know you're trying to juggle your professional and personal lives, and and everything is kind of meshed together right now. And as a parent, sometimes we feel like this, right? We're trying to help our kids, but you hear all of these terms that you have no idea what it is, right? Their kids are logging in somewhere, they're using this app, or they're using this, it's sent through some kind of portal, whatever it is. We're always so confused. And as a parent, I'm confused sometimes too. So I know exactly what you're going through. This is a unique situation where our teachers and administrators are doing the best that they possibly can. And the fact that we've been in school and out of school and we're virtual and hybrid and all these different scenarios, it's really, we've had to be flexible. We've had to be patient. And sometimes we've just had to take a deep breath. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves, am I prepared for high school? I mean, is my child prepared for high school? Because you have to remember that as eighth graders, they're becoming young adults. And sometimes we do have to let go a little bit. And we have to say it's okay for them to struggle. It's okay for them to maybe find their own path. And it's okay for them to have their own high school experience, not relive your high school experience or their older sibling, but their own. And so, is my child prepared for high school? And my answer to you is yes. Okay. And I say that because a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor, right? And it's one of my favorite quotes that I think about a lot. These are rough waters, they're uncharted waters. And for me as a principal, this has given me an opportunity to grow stronger. It's given our students an opportunity to learn about, even whether they wanted to or not, or we wanted them to or not, to learn about strength and perseverance and resilience in ways that we never thought they would have to at this age. So when they come to high school, they're going to be prepared because they've already had rough waters, right? And so Mrs. Milder reminds me of this all the time. This is just temporary. And so as we sail through these uncharted waters, there's going to be smooth points. And so that's where we come in as a high school, and that's where the connection with our PV staff really comes into play. And so tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about our current reality, and we're going to talk about what's to come in terms of the scheduling process. And so our goal is to return to in-person instruction on the 19th with our blue cohort. Our schedules at PV and the high school are joined. So we share staff, and Mr. Seborowski and I are talking all the time. We don't know what the latest health trends are going to tell us or what's going to happen in the next couple of days, but right now that's our goal. And that's what we're shooting for. But it's important that we're following all the health and safety protocols that we possibly can. And as middle school students, as high school students, that's hard. Okay, it's hard to tell kids that they can't, see their friends. It's hard to wear masks wherever they go, right? It's hard not to do the things that they want to do as middle and high school students. But it's also our job as parents and job as administrators and teachers to help guide them and understand that, hey, this is temporary and we can do this together. So we appreciate your flexibility. We appreciate your patience through this entire process. Yeah, I know it has not been easy, but the fact that we had been able to be open for such a long period of time is a testament to everyone following those protocols. And we're so proud of our kids. The responsibility and the dedication and the accountability that it takes to wake up every day, sit down at a computer at 8 o'clock and stay there till 2. It's a long day. I know for us as adults, we're exhausted. And for those of you in education that are teachers or professionals in education, you know what you're going through. And those of you that go on Zoom every day, know that it's tough. And for kids, they're also living, and all of us for that matter, we're living at a time of great change and civic engagement. They're watching things happen. The Black Lives Matter movement, the election of a new president, what happened this past Wednesday. All of these things are things that when I sat down and talked to my parents about, they were like, Rich, we lived through the civil rights movement. These are things that your kids and grandkids are going to be talking about in history. Whatever our opinions are about these matters, honestly, it's really about the fact that our kids are learning at such an important time. And so the conversations that you have with them at home, the conversations they can have with their friends and with their teachers is critically important because every day matters. And you get out of every day what you put in. And at this age, there's so much going on socially and emotionally on top of the academic piece. We appreciate that they are giving it their best so that when they come to high school, they're going to be fully prepared. So our reality is really a positive one. Regardless of whether we're virtual or hybrid, the education is happening, and that's a great thing. And so what I'm going to have some of my administrative team do is talk to you a little bit about what your kids need to do from here till June to help them be successful. So Mrs. Milner is going to talk a little bit about the importance of attending class as eighth graders, right? Knowing that they're almost done. It can be difficult. You get the eighth grade-itis, but attendance is really important. So Mrs. Milner, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Hazler. Good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see so many faces coming out tonight. It's cold, but at least we get to stay in our house and stay nice and warm for this. So thank you very much for coming out. As Mr. Hazler said, for students to remain motivated and involved with eighth grade, it's very important to continue that habit. We need them to form great habits so that when they come to high school, they continue those good habits. And I think we've all heard of senioritis. Well, maybe there is eighth grade-itis as well. They get to a certain point in the year and they say, oh, we're done and we don't need to do anything else. Not true. It's very important that we help the students to stay on top of things so that when they come to high school, they can maintain that structure. In high school, one of the differences that I just want to point out to you, I'm not going to take too much time on this, is that with high school classes, you have credits associated with each course. So as you know, when Mr. Hazler and Mr. Frederick go over things later, you'll see them talking about credits. And credits has to do with the seat time, the amount of time you're in a class. So at the high school level, for those of us that may remember, we do have credits that we acquire. So let's say a full year course would be 5 credits for that year. A half year course might be 2.5 points. So in order to get those credits, you have to be present in the class. Now we understand that things happen, people get sick, students are going to get their driver's licenses and all sorts of things happen. And there are excused absences, but for unexcused absences, if students don't attend a certain number of classes throughout the year, they won't receive that credit, that seat time. So the grading is different than the credits. They could pass the class, get an A+ in the class, but they have to make sure that they are attending the class each and every day unless they have an excused absence. So that is something that I do want to point out, that we look at each period, each class, and if they do the work, we want to make sure that they're getting the credit for the class. So it's good, form those habits now, attend those classes now and get used to it, because it's very important next year when they're in high school and they want to keep an eye on their transcript to keep things on the up and up. So thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Milner. I'd also like to introduce Mr. Mark Frederick. He's our supervisor of student services, and he's going to talk a little bit about the grading process, because the high school and the middle school are on the same grading timeline. So, Mr. Frederick, if you could just talk a little bit about the grades.
Good evening, eighth grade parents. Excited to be here with you tonight. As Mr. Hazler was saying, and Miss Milner too, all this wraps together. The grades right now that your eighth grade student is achieving, while the GPA might not travel them to high school, it is forming good habits. And it's really important that they're fully aware of the work they put in now will pay off in the years to come. Just understanding that, next Friday on the 22nd, that is the end of for the second marking period. And that being said, they should be reaching out to their teachers now, talking to Ms. Prashak, Ms. Toth, any questions or concerns they have with any kind of classes. It really is important too, understanding as they move on into the high school, essentially you have your first 3 high school years from your freshman year to junior year, where your grades will count the most if your son or daughter is looking to go to college. The one thing that my guidance counselors will always talk about is, your GPA, or how you're doing, or what are your future plans. There are many, many different studies done, parents, that show, whether you're going to college or going to the workforce, whatever your transitional goals are, your grades and what you get have a major impact on what you eventually end up doing. So, it's so important that you speak to your son and daughter about their grades this year, continue to work as hard as you can with them. Obviously come to us as a guidance department as school administrators, as teachers, and if you have any questions or concerns. But we just really want you to have that great understanding that we're here to help you, with this. And Mr. Hazler said before, the social emotional well-being of your children is so important to us as well. So, we're here to help you. If you have any questions at all, feel free always to reach out. But remember, those grades, they will pay off. The harder they work, the better the outcome will be. So if you have any questions, once again, just let us know.
Thanks, Mr. Frederick. One of the things that I put on there is you can't expect teachers to drop everything in grade, right? And that really went to my high school, but I wanted to emphasize that with the 8th graders too, because at the end of a marking period, you try and catch up, right? You didn't get to hand in those assignments or something happened, and then we wait and we sit there, and as parents, we wait and sit on the real-time parent portal sometimes like it's a social media account, right? And you're waiting to see what's going to happen. Our teachers are trying to grade as quickly as they can, but there's also a piece of it where the teachers are accountable too, right? So if you're looking for a grade, don't hesitate to reach out to the teacher. You always want to reach out to the teacher first, in terms of the chain of command. You always reach out to the teacher. If there's an issue, reach out to guidance. And then, of course, the administration is more than willing to handle things. But building that partnership with teachers is really important. And speaking of partnerships, one of the things that is so important that partners with the academic piece is our extracurriculars and our sports. And so we've started off our winter season, and our athletic director, Mr. Silipina, just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going on at PV right now as 8th graders, for those of you that are involved, and then what you need to prepare your kids for high school. So Mr. Silipina, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Hazler, and good evening, everyone. As we approach 100 participants on this Zoom call, I have to say I'm really impressed. Mr. Severowski and Mr. Hazler both said PV parents were going to represent tonight, and they surely did. And it's great to see so many of you out here tonight. Today, when I was talking to the students, I first started by congratulating those that have signed up for basketball for, a great start to the week, a great start to the season. Walking through the gym, first and foremost, it was great to see students back in the school. And then watching how they were taking all the proper safety protocols during practices, being in their pods, wearing their masks, using hand sanitizer, being socially distant. And I reminded them today that the only way we're going to get through this season is if we continue to do all of those things together, keep making great decisions, and we're going to keep building those positive memories with a long winter season, hopefully. So I also wanted to remind them, just like last year, we're going to sign up in the spring for fall sports at PTHS. So typically the way it works, we would have a representative from each fall sport come down to PV. But it looks like the way it's going this year, we're probably going to do it virtually again. And that's going to be accompanied with videos from the head coaches. So you kind of get to meet the head coaches virtually and then sign up from there. And then you'll be put on their email list so they can contact you to let you know when summer practices will begin. So in order to register for a fall sport, it's the same way that it's always been for PV, except this time you're going to click on the PTHS button, but it is the same link that you can see right there. Athletes can start working out with the high school team right after 8th grade graduation. So they can get a head start on, the building that team chemistry the day after graduation. All incoming 9th graders are eligible to play a fall and winter sport, which is great. But going back to what Mrs. Milner talked about earlier, that magic word of credits, eligibility, those credits, they're going to be checked on the first day of the 3rd marking period in order to determine if they can play a spring sport. So in order to do that, they have to be currently passing 15 credits to be eligible to play a spring sport. And lastly, tonight, I'd like to talk about the athletic department philosophy, which is centered on education-based athletics. And this is basically using athletics as a platform to teach life lessons and to provide all the tools necessary to be successful upon graduation at PTHS. All the while learning how to compete at a high level and get the most out of your athletic ability and have fun. All of our programs, they participate in character education programs, community service efforts, team bonding, and sports-specific skill development. So We are looking forward to having all your children sign up for at least one sport at their time at PTHS, and build those positive memories. If you have any questions, you can put it down in the chat, or you can reach out to me via email. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Silipina. All of those things play a key role into this next process, which is the actual scheduling piece. Okay. And you're probably saying to yourself, we're not even halfway through the year yet. January 22nd is next Friday. But we have to start to think about that process, because what we want to do is we want to actually get ahead of making sure that we're prepared depending on what happens, whether we're in person or virtual. We want to be able to have enough time to adjust our student schedules, give them a chance to improve if they need to, and really work on providing schedules that are focused on a blueprint. And what I start off with this quote all the time: we learn by pushing ourselves and finding what really lies at the outer reaches of our abilities. I want you to think about your high school experience. Okay. And maybe you were that student that challenged yourself, right? Or maybe you were the student that just, kind of hoped that nobody would notice you and you just make it through high school. Or maybe you were a combination of both, right? And I pointed that out to the kids today. What are you doing to prepare for your future, depending on who you are? Are you that student who, is like, I'm really not quite sure what I want to do yet? Or are you a student who has the checklist, right? That knows what they want, has their goals, or maybe you're in between. Either way, the future's coming, right? Whether we're in person or it's hybrid or we're all together, there's going to be ninth grade next year. So we have to make sure that we're ready for it. And I talked to the students about what their blueprint is. How are they incorporating their talents? How are they incorporating what they're passionate about, their skills and expertise, to really look at courses in that way? And I challenge my teachers the same way too. I challenge them to bring out those passions and those talents that they see in their kids, and focus on those things that are important. So as a ninth grader, you're going to have required courses, and you don't have to write all these down because I'm going to send this out to you. And Mr. Seborowski will send it out to you in his newsletter. But these are the required courses that a student in ninth grade would take. So they're going to have English 1, they're going to have math, either algebra 1 or geometry, and the A or H means academic or honors. Okay, they have biology as their science, world history, physical education, and a world language. And then they have an elective in financial literacy. Okay, and they have a visual or performing arts or a careers course. And it'll make much more sense to you when I show it in a different way. But we have to make sure that our blueprint meets the requirements for graduation for the state and for our district. So when you look at this, these are the requirements that every student needs in order to graduate from the high school. So every student has to have 4 years of English. They have to have 4 years of health and phys ed. They have to have 3 years of a lab science, 3 years of a math. Okay, and again, these are minimum standards. So every student is going to have a different schedule because every student is going to think differently about what they want to do. So if you're a student, your schedule may look like this. Okay, and these are academic or honors classes. I didn't put anything specific on here, but you look based on, okay, the first row is English, okay, and what that might look like. There's the science track, okay, where you could take bio and then chem and then physics or environmental. And then as a senior, you could take physics or environmental, whatever you didn't take in your junior year, or you could take something else, an AP science, forensics, whatever you would like to take. For math, that's usually the math track that students will take depending on their learning abilities. Their history classes, and again, you can integrate AP classes in here over the course of your 4 years. But your freshman year, if you just concentrate on their freshman year, that's pretty much what their schedule is going to look like. You'll have English, biology, algebra 1 or geometry, world history, phys ed, world language, financial literacy, and then they can choose an elective. I put finer performing arts in here. Okay. So if you're applying to an academy, so the teaching and learning, aviation, allied health, or STEM, they have certain electives too that they'll need to integrate in. And so those applications for the academy are due tomorrow, January 15th. And we will work with you on that if your child gets into the academy. But this is really what a sample schedule will look like if you map it out over 4 years. And again, you don't have to take a snapshot. You can certainly, more than welcome to, if it helps guide you, but hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense to you in a minute. So how do I know what my child's options are? All right. Reading 75 pages of a program of studies is good bedtime reading, but it's really not to sit down and talk with your child about. So what we did was we decided to create a website for you. And this will also be emailed out to you. And what it does is it goes over all of the courses for you. So my child's going into grade 9. What is this going to look like? So I can click on here over on the left, and I can take a look at what grade 9 electives can my child take. So let's click on that for a second. So here are all of the electives that are available for a 9th grader at Pequannock Township High School. So I know that the PV band department has huge numbers, right? Mr. Foth has a ton of kids in band. Just because they're in band in 8th grade doesn't mean that they're automatically in it in high school. It's an elective course. So if they're interested in band, they're going to want to let the guidance counselor know that. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. But students can take marketing, entrepreneurship and leadership, sports and entertainment management. They can take game design, creative writing, digital arts. So there's a lot there. And if I want to learn about each and any one of these classes, let's say that I am interested in, let's pick business. Okay. I was a business teacher, so I'm going to click on my business electives and boom, here are all the courses that are all outlined for everybody. So you can take a look at exactly what it is. So rather than read through the program of studies, you can take a look at this. And if you're one of those people who has the checklist, right, and is going to check everything off and start to map out their child's 4-year career, you can look at all of the electives that a grade 10 student can have, grade 11, grade 12. You can go down and you can take a look at our AP program and take a look at what are the benefits of taking AP courses. What chances do I have? And then you can actually go in and see them. You can hear from, here's an English, I know, I'll reach out to Mr. Picardo. I know he's an English teacher, right? So here's English. You can hear from Mr. Shirazi, who is the AP language and lit teacher. He posts a video about what this class is all about. If you want to hear about the AP maths, you can go in and hear from the AP math teacher, AP statistics, AP computer science. It's all here for you. Okay, so it really gives you an opportunity to take a look at with your child in a more interactive way what they can take next year. So instead of flipping through a program of studies, this will hopefully be a little bit more fun for you. But I wanted to get back to just a couple of things to highlight some of the courses. All students in grade 9 will be taking financial literacy. It's a graduation requirement from the state. And it's really a great kickoff if you're interested in business courses, but take a look at what they're learning about. You know, you're looking at income and careers, money management, planning, saving and investing, becoming a critical consumer. I think as an adult, I need this course, right? And so for the freshmen, this is a great way for them to kick off some of their knowledge about about money, right? And being financially literate. And that then is joined with contemporary business information and technology. So they're going to be learning, a little bit more about the Google Apps for Education, how they can integrate that into the high school, presenting themselves through email and verbal communication, working on those in-person communication skills. It's really a great course for our freshmen to get them prepared for the remainder of their high school career. And so as a mandatory class, then you have your other electives that you could take. You could take creative writing or journalism. For our upperclassmen, we have new for them next year, creative writing 2 and journalism 2. We have our sports and entertainment marketing courses, or if you prefer, you could take accounting or marketing 1 or Wall Street or entrepreneurship and leadership. In the music department, you can take piano or music tech, and then either band, choir, music theory. There's a lot there for you. We do offer theater arts and dance. We do need a teacher for that if there's interest by the students. Usually we know there's a lot of students that do dance in town, and our theater arts department is growing. So we did want to offer that this year as a course, and we'll see where that goes. We do offer digital media and TV production. And this is where we're looking for students who are interested in filming our sports and live streaming them out. We're looking to see people who might be interested in broadcasting down the road and doing some play-by-play as we get into this virtual environment. Why can't we continue that, right? So if I can't make a game, I could log in and see my child and get a little play-by-play. All right. They can be the Warner Wolf, right? For those of us that are old enough to know and remember Warner Wolf, let's go to the videotape, right? So media production too is something that we're going to start off this year and really get into that because we have some students who are interested. So now what do? Right? We want to pick our electives. We want to get ready. So right now, teachers are recommending classes for your students, and those are your core courses, your English, math, science, and social studies. And what they're doing is they're using marking period 1 and 2 grades from this year. They're talking with teachers who have had them previously, and they're looking at their aptitude and motivation. And that's why grades are so important. You know, in 8th grade, Mr. Seborowski is working with the 8th grade team. They're going to be talking with your students, if they haven't already, about what they're going to be recommending them for. And then your job is to select the electives for them. So you're going to do that through the real-time parent portal. Okay, so at 3 o'clock, don't go doing it now. At 3 o'clock tomorrow, we are going to open up the parent portal, and I'm just going to walk you through how the process will work. And I'm going to send you a little cheat sheet that will have this for you as well. So you'll see down on the left there, it says number 1, click on course requests. So when you go to your parent portal, it's going to say course requests down in the bottom there. And then this screen is going to pop up. So it'll say course requests for the 21-22 school year. And there'll be a drop-down menu, which is right there on number 2, and you can pick from your departments. So if you want to take band, right, you would pick music. For me, as a business guy, I'm going to pick business. So I click on that, and all of the courses that are related to business will be there with the description. It's that easy, okay? So you log in, you see, okay, I want to take accounting. So if I want to take accounting, I'm going to click on the little plus button, and I'm going to add that to my course requests. So I hit the plus button, boom, and here's what happens, and here's what it looks like. So as a rising freshman, you are going to pick 3 electives, okay? You do not have to pick financial literacy because it automatically goes in, but you're going to pick 3 electives. So I chose, I'm not a freshman, I considered myself a sophomore, so I'm going to pick Accounting 1, I'm going to pick AP Psychology, and I'm going to pick Current Trends in Civic Engagement and Holocaust and Genocide. So those 2 courses are 2.5 credit courses. They're semester courses, so they actually go together. The social studies electives, you can take a bunch of different courses. So I chose those 2. Now, let's say that I realize that I really don't want accounting. I can hit the little X button here and delete it from my course request and pick something else. Okay, so I have all these courses, and now my next step is I'm going to prioritize them. So in my columns here, I'm going to pick the one that I want the most. So parents, okay, and this is something that I want to clearly communicate again. And I know I mentioned band a lot, but it's something that is really important to our students. If your child wants band, okay, make that a high priority so that they know and our teachers will know to make sure that they try to get it. All right, because that is it's called a singleton class. All right, there's only one section of band. So we want to make sure we can try and accommodate them the best that we can. As freshmen, it is hard to get your number 1 priority because you are competing with upperclassmen. So you want to make sure that you're picking those 3 classes that you would really want to take in the event that you get your 3rd choice. Okay, but we try really hard to accommodate those of you that want to take band or choir. Okay, because that is such a special course that goes through the 4 years. So you're going to rank them in order of interest. And then when you're done, you are going to finalize requests. And that's it. Okay, it'll be submitted through real time. And then it'll go right to your child's guidance counselor. So you're going to have from this coming Friday, so tomorrow, all the way through next Friday, the 22nd, to do this with your children. Okay, to look through the electives and to select them. So then what'll happen is, and I have Mrs. Crocker's on here, and she can probably speak more to this than I can because she's done this before, but you are going to be meeting with a guidance counselor from the high school. So from February 18th through the 26th, you're going to get a schedule. Okay. It'll come from either the counselor at PV or from us. Okay. And it'll say, we're going to meet you at this time on Zoom. Okay. With you and your child. And we're going to go over your child's course requests. Now you'll see them ahead of time because we're going to open up the portal. So prior to your meeting, you will see all the classes that your child will have. And then you'll talk about it with the guidance counselor. I don't know if Ms. Crocker, you want to add anything to that?
What I would like to add is that the guidance counselors, when you're coming into the high school and they're already thinking of you leaving. So they will be doing everything they can to prepare you to be taking the best courses to get you into the schools you'd like to get into or into the career you'd like to get into. So I would say what they're probably going to tell you is to challenge yourself, but challenge yourself in a way that you're choosing things that you could be most successful in. And that means not just in your academics, but also get involved in the school. Colleges, employers, everyone wants involved people who become leaders. And the way to do that is to do well in your classes, join clubs, join band or choir, join sports, get yourself involved in the high school. Besides all the benefits you'll have post-graduation, you'll have a great time in high school. And the counselors are always there to help you with everything. They'll review all your courses with you. As we said, what you're putting in are elective requests. And we ask for the priorities because you're really going to have one open period as a freshman. So you're choosing 3 things so that we can see which of those to try to get into your schedule. And I'll just add one thing. I know people will probably jump on at 3 o'clock tomorrow. If you hit that finalize button, you're not able to go back in and change it. So if you're jumping in and putting in your choices, but then you want to talk with your friends over the weekend, and you want to think about it a little bit more next week, wait to do the finalize until you're done and sure with what you want to request.
That is a tremendous piece of advice from Mrs. Crocker. Mrs. Crocker is in full scheduling mode. She loves the scheduling season. So this is
my time of year.
It's her time of the year. It's like spring training for me when baseball starts, right? This is her season. So, just to kind of conclude here, the best preparation for tomorrow is doing your best today. So I said this to the 8th graders in that we want to make sure that, and I'm going to unshare my screen here, but we want to make sure that our students are being as prepared as possible. And so that really begins with doing their best right now. Okay. And they're having a chance on January 24th, or it'd be the 25th, I guess would be that Monday. They have a chance for a fresh start in a new marking period. Right. And that's a great thing. So however this has gone for them. And again, it's been harder on some than others, this distance learning process. They can still get better. Okay. In terms of the clubs and things for students to get involved in, there is a list of clubs. We're gonna put that on the website as well. The website is not live yet, so it'll be live tomorrow because there are still some things we're adding to it. We want to make it as interactive as we can. Some of our art teachers are putting up some artwork so you can see some of the examples of that, and we'll have a list of our clubs there for you, and you can actually hear from some of our students as well when they come through. So the recommendations for academic classes, when are they going to be shared? They're going to be shared the end of January. Okay, so the goal is the recommendations and elective requests will go in by next Friday. Okay, and then the following week, our counselors organize all of it. Okay, get everything set up, and then we release the electives, the course requests for you. So there'll be a period of 2 or 3 days that you'll be able to check out the electives, and we'll notify you. Mr. Seborowski will send out an email. Okay, so you'll be able to see them, and then we take them down so that we can work on the sectioning, because we actually then begin to build our master schedule. All right. And it's a long process because we want to make sure that we can provide the best that we possibly can. And actually, Mr. Frederick in the chat there put up a list of the clubs that we do have. In case you're wondering, you can take a look at that in the chat. Thank you, Mr. Frederick. All right,
I could just add one thing about the clubs, because I think it's so important to be involved in things in high school. realize that when you go to a club meeting, it's not a lifelong commitment. So try a bunch of them and see what you like. Maybe you'll go to one, you'll love it, and you'll stick with it. You'll end up being the president of the club by the time you're a senior. Maybe you'll go to one and realize, oh, it's just not for you. You don't have to keep going back. So go out and just try everything that the students can do, because it'll just make high school that much more enjoyable.
Again, that's a great point. I think if you're looking for an academy, if you're going into the academies, you should still choose electives. Okay, so put in elective requests in the event that you might not get into the academy, but chances are you got a strong opportunity if you put in your application, you go through the interview process. But if you don't get in, then you're still going to put in those elective requests. All right. I'm also thinking out loud here. What I'll also do for Mr. Seborowski is I'll send the website that we created for our 4 years and beyond program, which is really, really comprehensive, and that'll have a variety of things for you to look at, including our activities and our clubs. So again, you're asking some great questions, but does anybody else have any questions that you'd like to ask? Please put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself, I think, and ask if you want. But again, I really appreciate you coming out tonight. It's been the support that you've shown to our schools has just been tremendous. And it has really meant a lot to us as an administrative team and as a teaching staff, because we're all going through this for the first time. And there are times where Mr. Seborowski and I will call each other and be like, what do you think? Did we do this right? And we both go, I don't know. We're figuring this out, but we're making decisions. That the one thing we always say to each other is we're making our decisions in the best interests of the health and safety of our students and our staff, and that's first and foremost. And so if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and know that when your child gets here to the high school, we're going to take good care of them, and help them achieve the success that they want to achieve. So I don't know if Mr. Seborowski, you want to close out and say anything, but again, really thank you to everyone for being here.
Well, I'd certainly like to thank the PTHS staff and administration for giving such a great presentation, a lot of good information, especially to first-time parents getting ready to enter the high school. So thank you to all of you. And parents, I don't really have many opportunities to speak to the 8th grade parents as a group. And it's been an interesting journey for me and all of you and your kids. I started out as their assistant principal 2.5 years ago, then became their principal last year, and it feels like we've been remote ever since. But I'm working hard with the PV staff and Ms. Ringen to do everything we can to make the second half of the year for the 8th graders as special as can be. There are a lot of great activities we have in a normal year, at the end of 8th grade year, and we're going to do I promise you, we're going to do our very best to do everything we can to make some of those events happen and make it a special end of the year for them. So again, thank you everyone for coming out, and thank you again, Mr. Hazel and your staff for presenting tonight.
You're very welcome. So on that note, everybody, thank you again for being here. Let's go Panthers. We'll see you next time. Have a great night, everybody. And if you know anybody that couldn't be here, it is being recorded. So I will have it up on the website tomorrow. So have a great day. Have a great night. Stay safe, everyone. Take care.